Hey everybody, Happy New Year. This is the first Josh the Podcast of 2017. I hope you celebrated with loved ones and that you are off to a great start this year. We are brought to you today by the Not Just Words project of the JKWD Podcast. If you're not familiar with the JKWD Podcast, it's the podcast I do with my friend Kelvin Ringgold up in Syracuse, and he and I launched the Not Just Words project. The idea being that this year, let's focus on not just talking about being nice to each other, not just talking about doing the things that you've always said you're going to do. Get out and do them. Let us know on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter with the hashtag Not Just Words. We may have some more stuff coming, we're not really sure, but really just a campaign to get everybody thinking about action. All right, here we go. Hey, so it turns out I've been really interested in brains lately. Not eating them or whatever, just learning about them. Yeah, I recently read the Rise of Superman by Stephen Kotler about flow states, and now reading The Art of Risk by Kate Sukal, whose name I'm probably pronouncing incorrectly. And they both get into the neuroscience of risk and flow, and they're very overlapping states. Is the way you get into flow a lot of time is taking risks. So expect more on this as the podcast progresses this year. But I'm just kind of starting to think about brains and how they work, and why we've evolved to this, and all that. But as the new year starts, you were probably suspecting that I was going to start with some politics, and really much more than politics. I want to talk about ethics. That was in the news this week, and really the loss of nuance and context that we've been hitting in the social media world, and not just in the social media world, but in a world that is newly socially mediated. In 140 characters, or it used to. I don't know if you remember when Facebook was 160 characters. Now that they're long form, we still share headlines with a quick thought, without getting into nuance and context, and really thinking out what we're talking about. The first thing I wanted to talk about is ethics. There, on Monday of this week. Monday of this week? Yeah, we're recording on Wednesday, January 4th, for release on Thursday, January 5th, and that's why I've gotten my days confused. But on Monday of this week, it was a national holiday. Most people who have 9-to-5 jobs were not at work, and they weren't paying attention, and a U.S. House subcommittee decided to gut the powers of the Congressional Office on Ethics. What this Congressional Office on Ethics does is they serve as an independent, nonpartisan, not bipartisan. It's not made up of any people with specific party affiliations. It's just the people who are best suited to the job. It's independent of Congress. They don't report to Congress, they report on Congress. And what they do is they investigate ethics complaints. So you think your congressman or congresswoman or whoever is taking a bribe, or is acting unfairly, or is not doing his or her job. You can file a complaint with the Office on Congressional Ethics. We'll have a link in the show notes at joshshear.com. This is episode 39. You can pop over there either from the homepage or from the podcasts page. you just click on a link there and you fill out a form, and there you've submitted it, and the committee will go investigate as they see fit. Now, a lot of, especially first-term congressmen, were feeling unfairly shaken down by this committee, and they decided that the new method for filing an ethics complaint would be to go through them. It would be to go through the congressional, it was the House Ethics Subcommittee. And then if they felt that it should be investigated, it would go to the Committee on Congressional Ethics, who would investigate. Now, understand the way this works is, it used to be, well, the way that it says, we'll get into what happened, but the old way of doing things, you would go to this body and say, hey, I think my congressman needs to be investigated for this ethics violation. Will you look into it? And they'd look into it. Now, the new way, you'd have to go to your congressman and say, I think you should be investigated. Will you ask the ethics committee to investigate you? And how often is that going to happen? If you're already not behaving in a way that your constituents think you're ethical, you're probably not going to have a strong ethical bent toward having yourself investigated. So there was a lot of public outcry. President-elect Trump sent a tweet that said that's ridiculous, or whatever he said. Congress should not approve this, and Congress wound up not approving it. They tabled it. They didn't kill the reforms so much as say we'll deal with this later after we can review this, which means this is going to come up again at a time when we're probably not paying as much attention. Keep your eye on mid-August. It's often a time when things kind of sneak through. This is a case where Trump was right. I've said before, I'm willing to be proven wrong, and for all his ethical problems, he got this one right. He wants to take credit for it. The public wants to take credit for their outcry. Democrats want to take, congressional Democrats want to take credit for having this defeated. We got to stop being on teams like this. We're all Americans, and we need America to function like a good society in order to move us forward. We're falling behind in education. We're falling behind in economy. We got to stop pitting one side against the other based on the jersey we're wearing. The jersey we're wearing should say America. So there's that. The next part of this I want to get into, and this is something that I've said a lot about here and there, but if you head over to joshshear.com on Tuesday this week, so it'll be near the top of the page if you go there this week, or otherwise you can scroll through to the January 2017 archives. Is some items that can help define America and Americans as we go forward. I'm not going to go through all 10. You can read those, but I start with the premise that America has held promise, and these are the things that we've held the promise on, and that we all kind of grew up learning. Right, the American dream. You've got the opportunity to work hard, and if you work hard, you might not succeed, but if you do, the system will work with you and for you. There is an idea. There have been ideas throughout history, from Lincoln to Hoover and beyond, about prosperity for everyone. And you can be very working middle class in the U.S. and be in the top 1% of earners in the world. Like you can be under $70,000 as a household and you're top 1% in the world. But keep in mind that comparatively, we're not paying world prices for everything, and we're a lot bigger than a lot of countries as well. And our point is to be prosperous. And the third premise that I want to say, hey, these are our givens, is that we're a melting pot or a salad bowl, and I think that shift kind of happened in the 80s and 90s, where we used to call America a melting pot, where people of every culture could come together and become Americans. Well, people stopped kind of giving up their culture in favor of American culture, and instead we kind of became a salad bowl, right? Where you could have people of many different cultures living together in one place, and they all kind of gave a little something to it, like a salad. Like, we didn't all become this one thing like you would if you threw 16 different cheeses and 4 different chocolates in a pot and melted it. It would just be one thing that is, you wouldn't be able to distinguish any of the parts. But if you throw some lettuce and some spinach and some kale and some carrots and some tomatoes and cucumbers and celery and egg and whatever else into a salad bowl, everything would still be distinct, but we'd all be mixed up together, working together. And these are kind of the 3 promises that everybody has, kind of been brought to know in America. And it's not working for everybody. Some of the reasons I think it's not working for everybody, I'll give you the biggest 4 today. Okay, these are my top 4. One is facts. Recently, I don't know if these numbers have changed, but 52% of people who say they voted Republican believe that Donald Trump won the popular vote. Now, Trump himself has said that he won the popular vote, and also that this isn't a popular vote contest, it's an electoral vote contest. If he needed to win the popular vote, he would have gone out to win it. So that kind of doesn't jive with his statement that he won the popular vote, which he didn't. He lost it by some 2.1 million votes. And he is citing the millions of illegal votes. Now, he's never discovered these, and in fact, we've had fewer than 20 cases of voter fraud in my lifetime. I'm 40 years old, so there definitely were not millions this time around. The people who say Hillary Clinton won the popular vote but lost the electoral vote are relying on the people who count votes. Now, here's some other things. The scientific community, the people who study the environment, say that the temperature is rising faster than we think it should be. It's not in dispute in science, but we've made it a political issue. Science and facts are not political. Number is a number is a number. One of the most beautiful, succinct lines about math comes out of the mouth of young Lindsay Lohan in the film Mean Girls. She says, "I love math. It's the same in every language." And it is. A 4 is a 4 is a 4 is a 4, and we can bicker about whether we're going to do this in base 2 or base 6 or base 8, but in base 10, a 4 means 4. And rising temperatures mean rising temperatures. We can disagree about what to do with them, but we shouldn't disagree that it exists. That's where the issue is. We need to understand that a fact is a fact. If I see you walking down the streets and I say, "Dude, those pink pants are amazing. Where'd you get them?" He said, "I'm not wearing pink pants." I was like, "Yes, you are. You're probably just wearing blue jeans." But if I call them pink, now we've got to have a political discussion because I'm just being a jerk because your pants are blue. It's a fact. Just we shouldn't. Okay, we can disagree on how to interpret them, on how to interpret facts. We can even disagree with methodology. But what we can't do is when all the methods arrive at the same fact, we can't just dismiss them. Okay, there's one. 2, context. Context is something that I write about fairly often, and I speak about when you talk to me. But in order to understand where people are coming from, we need to understand the context from which they came and the context in which we're living. And we have to reach back that, we don't start each day as a new world. We may start as a renewed world, as a day anew, but it's not a new world. All the things that have ever happened provide a context for where we are today. And if you're not willing to accept context, then the facts that you base your arguments on are taken out of context, and they don't mean anything. Number 3, empathy. It's going to be a big one going forward. This is how do I put this? Let's define empathy. Okay, empathy means putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, right? Alison Donaghy and I talked about this a few episodes ago. You can go listen to that. She talked about thinking opposite. But really, that's empathy, right? Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. The person who's tailgating you, maybe that person's an asshole. Or maybe they just found out their mother's in the hospital and they really want to get there. Put yourself in that person's shoes. Well, we have a larger empathy problem right now. We love ourselves, and we don't care about other people. This is a not just words thing too, right? So I was in the parking lot. I was leaving the grocery store the other day, and the way the parking lot's set up is there are all these stop signs and crosswalks, and grocery store is next to a sporting goods store, and just it's huge, and there are hundreds of cars in the lot. And I'm leaving, and there's in front of the sporting goods store. There's a crosswalk that's 2 cars wide. You have 1 car going in each direction. It's a little wider, so you have some room. And right in the middle of the crosswalk, there was a shopping cart from the grocery store. It was a big cart, metal cart. If it had rolled, it would have left a scratch or something. And people were like swerving around it and driving around me. And you know what I did? I stopped the car. I unlocked my door. I got out. I pushed the shopping cart 7 feet. And I got back in my car and I drove away. That's empathy. Like, I could have just driven by the cart. It wasn't bothering me. It was just something in the road. If that had been a tree, I wouldn't have bothered to move it, right? But other people were trying to swerve, and they were driving very slowly past it. They didn't want to brush it. They didn't want to hit it. And they had mean looks on their face. Like, how dare the shopping cart be? It wasn't a shopping cart's fault. But have a little empathy for those other people who are having their bad days, and take 6 seconds, 7 seconds, however long it took me to climb out of the car and move that cart just the rest of the way across the crosswalk, and get back into my car and go. This is having empathy for other people. You don't even have to stop for somebody on the side of the road, but though that's a very nice thing to do, especially right now. It's the middle of the winter, which is easy for me to say because it's 65 and sunny here. But if you're in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and it's minus 20 out, somebody stranded on the side of the road could die very easily. They could freeze to death. So have a little empathy for your fellow humans. If you see somebody in a bad spot, help them out a little bit. Number 4, nuance. We've entirely lost our sense of nuance. I think I've talked about this a lot, but I don't think I've used the word nuance, right? I talk about it when I talk about gun control. There's something between take all the guns and no regulation, right? There's, hey, let's talk about mental health, and let's talk about let's talk about how you safely have a gun with a 4-year-old in the house. Let's figure that out. There's got to be something, right? I think Jesse Ventura had a unique attitude toward this when he was governor of Minnesota. Like, check everybody if you apply for a gun permit, you have a must issue attitude, but there's a criminal background check. If you're a criminal or you have mental health issues, no, you can't have a gun. But otherwise, there's no gray area. You don't get to, the police chief doesn't get to turn down a gun application just because. But there's a zero tolerance policy for alcohol, say, or drugs. If you can't drink and carry. You can drink or carry. So you can have your gun, but you can't do anything that might impair your judgment with it. So you've got to really be on top of it. You have to be trained. You have to be licensed. You should probably be insured, just in case, the way we are with cars. But, cars are a privilege, not a right. I know, I kind of digressed onto this gun argument, but let's actually, as long as we're here, we can talk about a national program, right? Because right now guns are a states' rights thing, which means that if you have a gun in Georgia, New York doesn't have to recognize your permit. So you can go from state to some states, but not to other states, and probably you can't drive through some states. I don't know. If Georgia and Ohio have mutual recognition on their gun laws, but Pennsylvania doesn't, how do you get from Georgia to Ohio? Right? Or New York or Maine, New Hampshire. Anyway, okay. So, there's nuance. There's something in between. There's something in between what side A wants and what side B wants, right? It's the same with everything. Okay? Understand where people are coming from. Have some empathy. See the context from which they're coming. Rely on facts to back up your arguments, and understand that there's nuance in everything, that there's not only 2 options, it's a spectrum. There's something at 0, there's something at 100, and there are many, 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 many things in between. It's not even just the 100 things in between, because there's a 4.12863, right? There's little shades everywhere along the way. Those are the things that I really hope right now for America and for us as we move forward. I think we're going on a little long here. We're starting to ramble a bit, and I don't want to do that too much. But I think we've got some exciting stuff coming up, not just here, but check out jkwdpodcast.com. See what Kelvin and I are up to. Talked about not just words at the beginning, and listen up for some other stuff. Check out the blog. I've been blogging more. Well, I've been blogging consistently for a few years now, every Tuesday. But I'm putting a lot more research and thought into my posts this year, and I hope to, I hope to have some other stuff that I can talk about soon. But there are projects in the works, and I hope you have a wonderful year. And if I can do anything for you, hit me up. It's at joshshear.com, at joshshear on Twitter, at Joshua N. Shear on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Josh Shear. Most of the stuff I post is public. We don't have to be mutual friends for you to see what I post. You can just follow me, and we can avoid any awkwardness if we're not friends in real life. And I try to not go too far outside of who I know personally, though I do have some Facebook only people. And I will see you next week. Hope you have a great one. Bye bye.